Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Jeremy SkyFitness Podcast Radio Show. We're coming to you on this Friday, October the 18th, 2024. Hopefully it finds you staying safe and staying sweaty all at the same time. On today's episode, we are rapping about business, bodybuilding, a bunch of other random things that start with the B with my man David Dorenzo. Before we harass him real quick, Jeremy Scott Fitness app is live. Obviously, you guys know, and you're rocking. JeremyScottFitness.app. You guys always get a week for free. We just loaded our 12-week total body ultimate kind of trainer in there. Very in-depth. It's the best of BJ Gaddour stuff and my stuff as well. If you guys want to jump into that, it's a premium option in there right next to our rebuild program. Same with our 47-day transformation. But if you guys want to do what I actually do weekly, we upload that every single Sunday for you guys, as well as, I believe, 25 now full follow-along programs. And we're adding more and more as the year goes on. I believe this year we have 2 more to go. We have a lower body sequence and kind of a 4-day per week, 5-week program that anybody can do if you're talking upper and lower splits and you want to really get fit. This would be the program and the option for you. So if you guys want to check it out, you grab a week for free, JeremyScottFitness.app. You guys are in there. Any questions, as always, just ask. And you already know the one thing I take every single day and I never miss, AG1, my friends. If you want a free sample, maybe you've heard 600 plus episodes, or maybe this is the first time you guys have joined us here. We send out free samples to anybody who requests them. I don't care what state, country, province you live in. We will get you the samples if you guys want to try them. Again, I don't take 14 different pills, especially when I travel. This just makes my life a lot easier. I eat as many vegetables as I can, but I don't eat 10 to 12 servings a day. It's just not realistic with my life and kind of how I eat. So I eat the best I can, and I take this to cover the gaps in my eating. So if you're looking for kind of like a foundational nutritional supplement, something that gets you not just vitamins and minerals, but prebiotics and probiotics, things that help with just overall your gut health. I do feel a little energy boost when I take this as well. This would be the one thing that I would take. On top of that, it's the best tasting, in my opinion. So if you guys want to check it out, drinkag1.com/Jeremy Scott will get you guys a year's supply of free vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with order 1. But if you want a free sample, we are sending them out, and you guys can get access to that anytime you just ask. So reach out. We're happy to send them. All the other sponsors here in the show notes, my friends at Substance Nutrition, where I get our creatine from, we can always give you guys a discount on that. And then JLab, where we get our protein, turmeric, collagen, and our krill oils. We typically have discounts on all those things as well. All these are in our supplement guide if you guys want access to that. It's in the app already, but if you're not in the app and you want it for free, reach out. I'm happy to send it to you guys. And then just a quick shout out to my friends at Dry Farms Wine, which is actually like Heather's sponsor, because I don't drink wine and I don't know shit about it and I don't really care for wine. But she tells me it's the best tasting and it's organic. And they just paid us the other day. So that's why I thought about it. So dryfarmwines.com/JeremyScottFitness gets you guys, I believe you buy a bottle, get the next bottle for a penny. What I really do with it is I send it as gifts to a lot of our clients here when they do kind of have anything going on, or just as a thank you to people, because I know people like love wine, and it's a pure wine. They don't really fuck around. They don't do all the additives like all the others do. So shout out to those guys. And if you guys want to check it out, and if you're a wine drinker, you're going to drink booze, I guess do it the healthiest way possible, but, like everything in moderation. All the other sponsors in the show notes for you guys. If you've got questions, hit me up, and we'll go from there. So without further delay, David Dorenzo is here, but he has some kind of helmet on his head right now. So I don't know what this is. So he'll come in a second. I was going to say the name of it, but I don't know the name.
Jeremy, it's a stormtrooper.
He's
never seen Star Wars.
I have never seen 1 minute of Star Wars my entire life. I don't feel like I'm missing anything, but maybe I am. I don't know.
So in your 600 plus episodes, has anybody ever worn a helmet?
No, maybe when they rode their bike here, if they had some issues. I do want to ask a Star Wars question. Have you seen all the Star Wars?
Yeah, of course.
Even like the newest ones?
Well, not the newest on the Disney TV.
Yeah, because people say the new ones are trash.
The last series I did not watch. I just heard it was a trashola, and I heard it got canceled after the first season. I think it was called the Acolyte or something.
Because I imagine like most things, the regression in series, like if you watch, like, there's some things I do like everything. Like if you say, what's the best trilogy that's ever existed? Godfather comes to mind. Back to the Future, the Chris Nolan Batmans, like those are great trilogies. But as things go on, they tend to get worse. Like Die Hard, and this is the example I always give. Like we talked about this last time. Sean was here. Shout out to our cameraman, Sean. Like the first Die Hard, he just goes to a Christmas party. He's a police officer. He fights some terrorists. It's cool. By the last Die Hard, he's literally jumping a fucking motorcycle off of a building into a helicopter. Like, that's so dumb at that point. And I'm assuming Star Wars is the same.
It is. I mean, even look at Indiana Jones. Like the first 3, gold. And then after that, it was kind of like they're just trying to, I don't know, create something that's not there anymore. The magic is there in the very beginning.
You're just making money at that point.
Yeah.
I don't knock them for making them, but they are trash products. They're like Taken.
Yeah.
Like the first Taken is awesome. And by like the third one, it's like, dude, are you like that shitty of a bodyguard that your people keep getting taken over and over? You know what I'm saying? Like, well, it just loses its luster, I guess.
Well, let's talk about what's on your shirt that we were talking about earlier. So you have, Rambo and Commando. What was his name in Commando?
John Matrix.
John Matrix, right? And so now you have a shirt that says Contra on it. It's like it looks like something out of the 80s, right?
Well, it's the original video game. It was A, B, up, down, left, right, select, start. That's like for infinity lives.
Yeah.
Because you could never beat Contra just like straight up. You would die too many times. It's basically just a game where you walk through and just fucking mow everybody down with machine guns.
So what was the one movie that those two were in together? Was there more than one? I know of one. Do you know one movie that they were actually?
They are in the movie Escape together for sure.
Yes. Yeah, Escape Plan, I think it was.
Expendables.
That's right.
But not like not in their primes.
No, not in their primes.
No. Yeah, no, nothing.
They were competitors.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're friends. Probably.
Probably so.
Yeah. Both savages.
There was enough room at the top for savages like
There's
that.
not that many people like that, so I imagine you kind of like hang out with each other.
Yeah.
Like if you're Stallone, like I would assume Arnold would be your friend.
Yeah.
That just seems like an easy.
Smoke cigars and race cars and chase women.
Just do manly shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here you are. We'll just ask this right off the top. 50 years old.
Yeah.
Doing a bodybuilding show.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing?
Well, after your nutritional update podcast the other day, I think this would be something interesting to get into. I honestly, Jeremy, I don't know. I'm type A. For all of you type A people out there, if you have a goal or if you have something that you want to get into, I strongly suggest if you're 50, not a fitness show. It's just counterintuitive to everything that your body wants or needs at that point in life. But
if you like it though.
Yeah, if you like it. I mean, I do like aspects of it, and I like having a goal. I think that's the thing, was to have a goal, have a date, get to a point, and then, have measurables. I have to have measurables. I have to be able to track. That's why I quit drinking 10 years ago, because I'm just kind of that person that's way over the top. And so whatever I do, I'm way over the top. And I went way over the top on this. I did do a fitness show last year, but it didn't qualify for 50 and over. I was 49. Thought I'd dip my toe in the water, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'll just do one more. And here's the thing, like all year, a lot of us will tend to slide, and especially as we get older and we have like real jobs, and I have a company, I have a business that Jeremy and I have started and we're trying to grow. And I have a couple other things going on. When you have all this stuff going on, it's like, do you really need one more thing to do? And, the answer is yes, maybe yes or no. And so at the end of the day, I was just kind of like, okay, how can I do this but make it relative to being healthy? So albeit, like, I'm going to get on stage. It's an all-natural show. Those do exist. There's not many athletes. There's maybe 50 athletes, I think, in total. But it's a safe place to go and just kind of get on stage and be like, cool, this is what I have accomplished for the last year. I actually maintained not going the other way and going the deep end. And being in the restaurant business, I actually own an insurance company that's in the restaurant business, if you haven't heard me the last 5 times on this podcast. But being in the restaurant business, that's been not difficult, but it's been different because I just don't go out to eat that much anymore. So now it's more of like a reward. And I know they say like, well, don't necessarily reward yourself, but that's the only way that I can operate.
So you're a process person anyway. So is it because you do this, like there's something you like about the process of it? Or do you just what are the parts you like about it and then necessarily maybe don't like about it?
Yeah. What I really like about it is the fact that I love logging and journaling and understanding where I'm at. So if I know I want to be a certain weight at this age, and if I know I want to feel a certain way that's attributable to that weight based on the food that I eat and the amount of movement that I get and the water that I bring in and all that sort of stuff, once I have that feeling and I feel good, that to me is that's the best thing in the world, especially when you're 50, you're whatever, 40, 60, any of that. I call it my midlife cycle, which is why I wrote the book, which we can get into later. But the fact of the matter is that when you have that that thing that clicks into your mind, like, okay, I feel good, I'm doing these things, then I like the structure of it. I like to understand, and I like to know that if I eat this, and this, and I have a whole slew of things that I can do, I'm gonna feel good. I'll be okay. Now that being said, during the course of the year, I did go out, and I'm more of like a splurger. I'll just go and splurge and eat everything. You and I have gone out to eat before, and
Yeah.
I'll literally eat 2 desserts, to your one, just because I hadn't eaten anything like that in a week or 2 weeks, and I enjoy that process as well. So to me, I don't know what balance really means. Balance to me just means being able to do things that allow me to feel good at this age and be productive still at this age and still have the energy to want to work in my business and do stuff like that.
And is it because you work so much in bars and restaurants? Like it's kind of like a built-in barrier almost, or like a roadblock to like, not an excuse, like, because you can always choose to do what you want to do, but it's almost like it makes it easier not to go eat and drink shit because you have this external motivator there.
Yeah, that's 100% true. When I was a kid, I was very athletic. I was the runner. I was the bodybuilder even as a kid. I was the kid that was at, 16 years old on the varsity football team benching 2 plates. I had this little short, stout, mesomorph, body that was just very strong at that point. So I always enjoyed the athleticism when I was young and doing all that. And what's funny is I didn't get into alcohol, never got into drugs. That just wasn't my thing. And part of the reason why I didn't get into drugs, which I know, is because of my personality. I know if I would have gone and snorted a line, probably would have been the end of me. I would just been like, all about it, right? I've never smoked weed. I'd probably be, whatever, sleeping all the time. But I did get into alcohol, and I got into it very heavily. And so I didn't even get into that until I had a career, and it was more of a social skill to go out and drink and be a part of that, community, because you're building a business. That's what you did back then. You didn't have a lot of this online stuff that we all, have now. And you weren't able to reach as many people. You had to go out. You had to go out to happy hours and to functions and to dinners and to all those sorts of things. So when I got to a point where I built my business, because I got really fat, I'm about 142 pounds. I compete tomorrow. I get on stage at about 100 and probably 41 pounds.
What was the biggest?
I was almost pushing 2 bills at like 5'6". My wife says I'm 5'5", but it was a lot.
It's pretty substantial.
Yeah, and I'm in my 30s, and I thought I was...
And not like a good 200 pounds.
No. I mean, I still had muscle, but it was like there was a lot of fat that was around it,
Yeah. I get that. So at 50, I guess I'll ask this because the people who listening, if you're in the same, or maybe it really doesn't matter what age you are, like what is the eating like to get as lean as you want to be at this point? Like what is kind of just because people sometimes are curious about the foods we eat, like what is a kind of a daily?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe hearing it from my perspective has to like you're in this business. This is what you do. You've got it dialed down to where, you can pretty much eat. And we're all different. You've said this on your podcast. You've got it dialed down to where you can possibly just eat one time a day. You go home, and even when you do go home, you eat clean, and you're definitely within your caloric, intake of what you need, energy out, energy in, sort of thing. As I explain this to people that ask me this, in different verticals of business and stuff, it's really math at the end of the day. And when I'm on my Excel spreadsheet and I'm putting in my, 8 ounces of chicken breast or my 152 grams of white rice or my 4 rice cake, like I know exactly what the math adds up to. Now I can do it in my head, which is kind of cool, because when you're doing this for a year straight, you just know like these foods combined with these foods is going to put me at about 1,800 calories a day. Did I work out today? Okay, this on an average. And that's another thing too. People, I think, over speculate how much they actually burn. They really think just because they walk into a gym and push a bunch of weight that they've burned like 1,000 calories. And in reality, it's like 300,
Yeah, I mean, if you're over 200 pounds as a dude and you die for an hour, you can probably do 1,000. Like if you're 200 plus pounds, 60 minutes of just like melting your face off, you can probably get to 1,000.
Yeah.
And if you're under that, there's no way you're getting close to 1,000. And that's like, and you can't do that every day.
No.
Like that's like a one-off, like once, I mean, depending on how old you are, once or twice per week maybe, but it buries you. It's too much. So you think about that, like you go work out, you burn 400 calories. What is that, like fucking 4 licks of peanut butter?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not a lot.
No, it's not. And just like you talked about the other day, it's like, who has 4 licks of peanut butter? I mean, that's the thing. You're going to have a whole jar. You know,
Yeah.
most people are going to do that. So what I had to do is really structure myself and be like, because I love cashew butter. That's one of my favorite things. So I literally have a teaspoon at my office, in my car, in my house. And so every time I know what a serving is, 2 teaspoons of cashew butter on my rice cake. And that's it. That's what I allow myself to have. I know after that I'm going to be satisfied. Now, again, I've been very strict from, the end of July to October, meaning I haven't eaten out at all. Everything's been measurable because I didn't want to get on stage and embarrass myself. I wanted to hit a goal and do that sort of thing. That's not for everybody. And this will probably be my last show, as my wife probably listens to this now and shakes her head. It's not really the best thing for your marriage. Just because you're not, again, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it, as you say, it's like, do I not want to be able to go out with my wife to dinner? I think I showed you a picture. She was having these beautiful tacos and, we're quote unquote on vacation up at our tiny home. And I'm sitting here with an iced tea, just staring at her while she's eating. And it's not even fun for her, So it's like, okay, dude, you're 50, you're a loser. Why are you doing that?
Yeah, like, what are we doing? So what does a day of eating look like maybe this last week? Like pick a random, on Tuesday, what'd you eat?
So again, it's not as bad as I think people would think. Like you can be in relatively amazing shape if you just eat really good 90% of the time, honestly. And that's what I've come to discover. So to answer your question, on a regular basis, I have a cup of egg whites, and I'll throw a couple of other eggs in there to get some fats. And then I'll either have like some watermelon or some raspberries, stuff like that in the morning, right? And then, I'll eat, if I get really hungry before lunch, I usually eat about 3 meals a day. But if I get too hungry before lunch, I'll have like an apple or some carrots, or I love jicama. If you guys haven't discovered jicama, it's this round bulb. It's like a root, but you can actually go to Trader Joe's and they already have it cut up. I think it's like $2.60, and it comes in a little, plastic container, and it tastes like it just tastes like something crunchy, almost like a potato chip, but probably not quite as good. But I put a little bit of sea salt on that.
Yeah, probably not quite as good at all.
So that's that. So then lunch is pretty standard. I'll just have 8 ounces of any sort of meat. I may even go up to Natural Grocers, get a pack of that roast beef that they have there, have that with some provolone cheese. Again, maybe a piece of fruit with it. And then dinner, my wife makes pretty much predictable but very good dinner. So that could be spaghetti squash and shrimp with peppers, steak, potatoes. I ate a lot of red potatoes, purple potatoes. Again, measurable though, because before I was actually measuring stuff, I would just eat everything that was left over. And so, albeit it's clean and it's good food, if you're still taking in 3,000 calories every single day and you're not burning, as much, you're going to gain weight no matter how clean or how dirty you get. So
yeah, I mean, that's I guess where people get confused sometimes. They'll say, well, if I just eat, and again, you have to eat real food if you want to be internally healthy, I think long term.
Yeah.
But 5,000 calories is 5,000 calories to your body in terms of just weight gain. Now, what that looks like is different, but and this is where people will argue with you. I'm like, I could eat literally McDonald's every day and lose weight, bro. I could eat fucking Sour Patch Kids only every day and lose weight. And people are like, well, how is that? I'm like, well, if I'm burning 3,000, but I'm eating 1,500, I'm going to get smaller, even if I'm just eating pure sugar. Now, I'm not going to feel great. I go, but you will lose weight doing that. And that's where it is, a calories in, calories out. But how you feel and how your composition changes is 2 different things. And that's where I think some people say, well, I've been eating really healthy, but the scale isn't moving. I'm like, it's so easy to overeat. Even it's harder, don't get me wrong, to overeat on real food versus processed food. But if you like the shit you're eating, like, especially if it's potatoes, it is not hard for me to eat 200, 300, carbohydrates in a day if it's like golden potatoes with butter on them. Like, I can smash thousands of calories easily.
Yeah, no, that's totally it. And the thing, and so just to kind of finish up after dinner, like I will save room for, believe it or not, I've fallen in love with rice cakes, like 4 of those little Lundberg, rice cakes, thin layer ones. Or it's like 24 grams of carbs. I mean, I have all this stuff memorized. I've been doing it for so long. And then I put some cashew butter on it. And sometimes if I have room, I'll put like white chocolate chips on it. And they're delicious. I mean, it's like no different than having a cookie sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that just allows me to kind of have a little treat at the end of the night. I drink Zevia. It's a soda, with no calories in it.
Yeah.
And
Stevia is a sweetener.
yeah, stevia is a sweetener, and that's really good. So that just allows me to live kind of a semi-human life. When I get done with the show tomorrow, I'll go back to going out to eat with my wife, like 1 or 2 days a week, and not really worrying about what I eat, because that's another thing. And you bring this up a lot. I wouldn't bother going out to eat. I'm not going to bother going out to eat anymore and going and getting a chicken salad. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like, look, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to have French fries. I'm going to have the hamburger. Because you would be quite surprised, and me knowing the restaurant business and how they cook all this stuff and what they do and owning 13 restaurants, trust me, the hamburger is might be less calories with the French fries than the chicken salad with the dressing.
And does that ever change your perspective though too? Just because you've seen, like, as they say, like how the sausage is made, like you get to see in the kitchen. And I'm not talking shit about restaurants, and you don't have to name specific ones, but the amount of like what type of oil they use or the actual type of the quality product they use. I think because and maybe Scottsdale's a little bit different, because you go to these places and it's like you go to a steakhouse, insert whatever one you want, but a steak is $72. And I'm not saying it isn't a good cut of beef, but dude, that same shit at 10 other places is a fourth of the price, maybe at best, for probably I guess I'll put it this way. I can buy a grass-fed ribeye for essentially $17 a pound, give or take. So I could buy 2 pounds of ribeye for that. And I got to make it at my house. I get it. But if I go to one of these steakhouses, it's $75 for one 16 ounce. That's probably not grass-fed. It's probably not organic. It probably isn't the same quality, but that's what you're paying for. You know what I'm saying? So you get to see that behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'm a huge advocate of restaurants. Obviously, I want everybody to go there and eat and have fun. They build community. They build they are a place where people can go and enjoy family and enjoy a good meal and
experience.
An experience. That's exactly it. And so, to your point, though, you have zero control. Yes, you can ask for this, and that on the side, but again, it doesn't. They're not cooking in different pans. They're not doing the thing. It just go and enjoy yourself at the end of the day, because yes, you can go get that steak and the one over here may not be grass fed. This may be grass fed. Like if you're going to do the grass fed, grass finished thing, just do it at home and do it with your own seasoning, your own stuff, because anywhere else it's going to be bogged down with oil. It's going to be cooked in a pan that had extra oil or butter or this and that. And you could look up that piece of meat, that 8 ounce, whatever filet, and be like, okay, I think I did this, and try and log it in. And it's just not even going to be close, because you're just going to have the aftermath of everything else that's been cooked in there.
Yeah, because you can tell, like, the steaks at Steak 44 do not taste like the ones I make at my house.
No.
They just don't.
No.
No matter how much I try. And I can grill, but bro, it ain't the same.
Right.
It's just not.
No, look, I mean, we're going out to enjoy ourselves, and that's, with company, that's to take our time, that's to also let our palate have a little bit something different than the 90% of the other time that, some of us choose to do in order to look a certain way, feel a certain way, move a certain way. And back to your point, I get, just like you do, I get blood tests every 6 months. So I want to see what the internal, to me, like that's a scorecard. That's a grade for me. When I see that and I see my doctor, who's wonderful, she'll look at it and she'll be like, okay, this looks good. This is good. Maybe we should, revert this and do this. So when I look at that, I'm always, and I've been doing blood tests and I've kept them all. I have folders on my Google file, again, documenting and doing stuff. For the last, 13 years. So I can look back 13 years ago and be like, holy shit, I was really unhealthy then compared to where I'm at now. And it's kind of a game for me at this point, So yes, there's an aspect to the vanity and the ego and wanting to look physically good in clothes, but it's also kind of funny too, because I was laughing when listening to your podcast the other day, and Kim had brought it up to me, and it's like, I sell insurance for a living, dude. Nobody gives a shit if I have abs under this shirt. They really don't. And quite honestly, my wife doesn't give a shit either. I'm the only one that really cares that I have abs.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we doing?
But it's like if it's for, and I would say it too, like if it's for you and it's important to you, like then it's an important thing and you should do it. Just like in fitness in general, like everything is excessive if you think about it, right? Like why would you need to learn, how to do 15 different types of pull-ups? Why would you have to run a mile in a certain amount of time? Like why would you have to have abs? I'm like, you don't have to do anything. I go, but if you like doing it, and it's, I guess, of all of the addictions, it's probably one of the better ones for sure.
Yeah.
And John Berardi said this to me like a long time ago. He's like, your time's going to go by no matter what. So you might as well like spend it doing shit that like you like to do and is important to you. And as dumb as it is, like just, again, I'm a fucking gorilla. Like moving weights from point A to point B and up and down. Like I like that for some reason. And I like the feeling of accomplishment and the way that it makes you look. And so like, if that's the byproduct of like, eating like a fucking well, and that too, like I could go down 18 different rabbit holes here, and that's not the point of this podcast, but like we look at like when somebody does that, and again, it is neurotic in the way, like if you are so extreme all the time, but to understand how many calories go into your body and understand the macros and like maybe measure some of your food some of the time and exercise and get good sleep and not abuse drugs and alcohol, we're like, what a fucking weirdo. But yet if you just eat McDonald's every fucking day and drink booze 3-4 times a week, like that's like normal, and we've accepted that as the baseline. When if you looked at it, like if you just were like an alien and you landed on this planet, you'd be like, oh, this seems like this is the better path to take, but yet we're so used to this other unhealthy path. And that's kind of where your brain kind of gets skewed, because you are looked at as like a weirdo. Like when you because if you're 50, again, I always say go cohorts, and I'm not about comparing. I go, but it's all we ever fucking do in the world, so here we are. Like if you're a 50-year-old dude, and you're as lean as you are, I can't imagine if you meet 100 people, there's another person who's in the same boat. Like you're just a rare of a rare person, because you're going so quote unquote extreme at this point.
Yeah, no, I am. And I think there's a lot of extreme people my age that do, they do extreme stuff in other measures. So I picked, quote unquote bodybuilding. And again, it's really the process that counts. It's the process and how we feel, while doing it, because the event itself is really like, it's 10 minutes. You get on stage, you get this fake tan that smells like shit, right? And you got this thing on you for like a week.
It's what I would call a male beauty pageant.
Pretty much, yeah. And I'm wearing these little board shorts, right? And I'm up there and I'm posing. My poor kids are going to go tomorrow. Like how embarrassing. But the thing is,
it's rough. Yeah.
You get up there and like you're flexing your muscles. I'm a 50-year-old man that's like flexing his muscles on stage for judges to look at me and say, well, you're a little off here, a little off there. And it's like, I don't really care,
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And then once that's done, you're kind of like, oh, okay. Well, we're done with that. What's next? And for me, I think the good thing is when I did this at 49, I kept on the track. So I kept my weight relatively down. I went through a muscle gain, process, and started eating a little more and going through all that process and understanding how it works. But now I have a mechanism to know what weight I want to be, because I've weighed myself every single day. And I know people say, don't do that, this and that. But again, it was for my own knowledge, just to kind of know how I feel, what fitted the right way and this and that. And that works for me. Again, I'm a busy entrepreneur that likes results, likes to see statistics, likes to see how things work in his business. And I want to do it within myself and know that I'm feeling good. Another important thing too is that, again, there's a lot of people my age, a little younger, a little older, they have other things that they do to extreme, whether it's triathlons, whether it's, these extreme race events. I know people that run 100-mile races, right? And they just have to have that mechanism in their life.
Yeah, I don't think like ever having like an external motivator is a bad thing, as long as the outcome is something positive. So it's like, hey, and Heather will do it. She'll sign up for these insane like trail runs like through Sedona, where to be like, here, it's a 10-mile trail run through the mountains. Like that sounds fucking miserable to me.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to get on stage in my underwear anymore either. I go, but if you gave me a choice, like, hey, do you want to stand on a stage in your underwear and be judged by other humans, or run through the mountains for 10 miles? I'll probably do the underwear judging. It just seems like that's a better fit for me personally.
For sure.
All those things, I don't think there's a problem with them. Like it's like what gets you motivated to do the thing. And in terms of what you're doing, it's like, hey, it's a different way of like, because you've done the trail running stuff too, where you've ran like marathons and things. It's just a different lane of pushing your body to kind of the natural limit of, how lean can I be, or how fast can I be, or how much endurance can I build? That's all.
And speaking to how lean I can be, I mean, that game can be really abusive mentally to you as well. So I brought my InBody from the other day, right?
Yeah.
And I think people need to be really careful when they go and they see these things and they do these things. But, you can see like the mechanism of, being at 10% body fat, according to this, going up to, 12. This was back on, 7, 8 of 24. And then basically leaning back down to 10.4, the lowest one of the lowest that's on the scale. But the point being is that, okay, what does that really mean? What is that relative? And then you see other people that, when you physically look at them and you look at the structure of their body and what's showing or what's not, and then they're posting that they have like 6%, you're just like, and it's the same sort of in-body thing. It's like, you just got to be careful at what you look at and taking it too seriously, because it just has to come down to how you feel. That's what I've come to.
Well, it's like the weight on the scale. Oh, I weigh this, so now I feel this way. But if I weighed this, it's like, I've watched women here, and I say women because dudes aren't typically as bad, at least publicly. But like women will get on the scale and say, well, I weigh 137, and they're in a shitty mood. Yet they thought they looked great and they felt good. And if that scale said 132, they would have felt amazing.
Yeah.
Something in that 5-pound difference made them go from like feeling like shit to feeling good, or vice versa. And it's like, you just give the power to this thing, and like, well, how do you actually feel in your own body and in your own skin? And like, what does it really matter at the end of the day? Because it's like, you don't walk around, I guess it's like anything in life. Like, you don't walk around with your net worth fucking tattooed on your forehead, or like your body fat tattooed on your forehead, or what you weigh. Like, at the end of the day, nobody gives a shit. You just give that number meaning because someone told you, hey man, at 8% you're this, but at 12% you're this. It's like, well, you look the same.
Right.
Like wherever you're at is like that. And again, those things like the InBody, for example, like, would I take that as like the holy grail of like accuracy? Fuck no.
No.
And again, if it told you you were 8, would you feel better? I guess you would today, because you would think like, oh, I'm this lean. I go, but if it wasn't true, like, what is it worth?
And if I wasn't doing any of it, and I just felt good, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And my clothes fit, okay, cool, So it doesn't have to be that extreme. And so when I'm talking to people and busy people, like there's a lot of insurance people that I deal with. Here's my insurance journal. I was reading this earlier today. Jeremy is going to get a subscription to this.
Would probably rather swallow wet gravel than read that.
But there's a lot of people in my industry and industries like it, whether it be banking or this and that they sit at a desk all day long. I mean, we've heard it a million times. And the thing is that what I have learned for myself, now I love fitness. I love to run. I love to overdo things, but I have to revert backwards. I have to learn things backwards to where I don't overdo stuff. So again, at this age and recognizing the season of life that I'm in, I can't go and do the things that I did when I was 20, and that's everything from what I put into my body and then how I exert myself. So if I keep damaging and abusing myself and overdoing it, thinking that that's going to be better for me or get me to a certain weight or a certain body fat percentage, all I'm doing is just putting in irreversible damage, quite honestly, because I don't have that much more, time left on earth as I did, before. And the thing is that more is not always better. Because the more stress you put on your body, the more stress you put on yourself mentally, just the worse off you get,
So off the top, just like quick for people who are like maybe in your same cohort, if you will.
Yeah.
Someone who's around 50, they work insurance, real estate, insert whatever, no offense, sitting on your ass job all day.
Yeah.
Like, what is your things for them when they're like, well, Dave, I see what you're doing. I want to be just like you, which I doubt they'll be as neurotic and have as much freedom and flexibility and is dedication to it. But what are the easy, low-hanging fruits you would tell them that you found?
Yeah. So if you have the money, get a coach. Definitely. I'm such a true believer in coach. I have 4 coaches myself. And look, I'm in an ideal position. But if you're not in that position, I get that. There's so many free tools and resources. There's obviously the Jeremy Scott Fitness app.
Week for free.
Right? You have all that stuff. Here's the thing. It's go at it in a way that doesn't overwhelm yourself. So I get it. You probably have kids. Maybe you have kids. Maybe they're in college. Maybe you're just starting to have a kid. There's a lot of, you may have a wife, you may be going through a divorce, there's so many ancillary. But if you can't take care of yourself and you can't do little things every day, then what good is really, living the life that you're living? So the point being is that if you can just get up and have a little bit of quiet time to yourself. This is what I do every morning. Actually, I love coffee. Coffee is my friend. So every morning I'll read, I'll hang out with my dog, I'll read for a little bit, and I'll have have a cup of coffee. And then basically I'll go out on a 3-mile walk with my dog, and I'll just listen to a podcast or listen to nothing, watch the sunrise. And that's the beginning to each one of my days. Now in the summer it's a little bit easier because regardless, I get up at 4, and that's another tip I want to give to people. Do not underestimate the power of sleep and giving your body the full potential to rest. And religiously, I get up at 8. I go to bed at 8, and I get up at 4.
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Yes, I go to bed at 8 p.m. and I'm up at 4. Now, understand, folks, I worked for Warner Brother Records, and I was driving Motley Crue and Neil Diamond around in a minivan, right? When I was in my early 20s, I didn't get to bed till 3 or 4. I could do that back then. I can't do that now. If I'm going to be worth any ounce of efficiency,
if you're not going to be a bag of shit,
correct,
you got to get to bed early.
You do, and I still I go to 3 concerts a year. One is Def Leppard if they're in town. Another one I went to Sammy Hagar / a Van Halen concert, and then I went to the Black Crowes.
I think you went to a Rat concert actually.
That was a couple years ago. Yeah, I did in Tucson. Or my wife put me in some shit hotel that I thought I was going to get mugged, but that's another story.
One time we filmed a video series and Sean wore a Rancid shirt. Do you know Rancid?
Yeah.
I didn't no idea what that was.
Oh, you had no idea what Rancid was?
I didn't know what Rat was, bro, until you told me.
I know. I gave you a Rat sticker. I think it's on the other side of that desk.
I got it here.
So the point being is that when I went to those shows, I was as Jeremy says quite eloquently, I was a bag of shit the next day. I couldn't get anything done. I don't drink, so I wasn't drinking at those things. It's as bad as being hungover. And if you're just not productive, you're not productive. So just plan on taking the next day off. But sleep is huge.
So as we segue this into you're in your midlife crisis here, bodybuilding show, writing books, doing different business ventures. You did write a new book, so I need to just ask about it off the top.
Yeah. So
why put it out? What's it about? Who's it for? What are we doing? What are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we even doing here?
So I figured I own a business. I know a lot of people. I've been on Earth for 50 years. I've made a ton of mistakes. And I think through a lot of those years, I've lived a lot of life, but I've also put aside a lot of life that I probably, could have lived better in essence, because I was so dedicated to my craft and being something to everybody else as opposed to being to myself, and sacrificing a lot of that. And again, willingly. I mean, I'm in the boat that I'm in now because of what I did. But you hit a certain milestone, maybe not all of us, but for me, I hit a certain milestone, and that was 50, getting up to 50. And I just came to a point where I was like, okay, how much more time do I really have here? I just had a friend that passed away at 51 years old earlier this week, and you just scratch your head and you're like,
what the fuck?
What the fuck? Right. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. So, you get deep into your head and you're thinking, okay, what else do I want to do while I'm here? And, my wife and I were a relatively, young couple in the essence that we've only been together about 11 years, married 9 years. So, we were getting our kids out of the house, for the last 10 years, and one's graduated college and one's still in college. But, that's a sense of accomplishment. But now we have this new relationship where it's, her and I. And I had to really focus and figure out, okay, what do I want to do for the next 10 years? Do I want to keep going down the road from when I was 30 to 50, building this business and always feeling like I had to be present in front of this computer and always be on everybody's beck and call and answer these emails and do all this stuff that it was a control thing. And I had, over the years, I had learned how to give control to others that I trust, to people on my staff that have been with me for over a decade, that can have relationships with clients. And part of that, of being able to let go, is letting go of your ego. It's letting go of the ability to be, how do I say, to not be scared of somebody taking your business or doing, a lot of people live in that fear.
And you think you operate from the place of, and I think every entrepreneur does when they start out anyway, at least the beginning, nobody can do it as good as I can.
Right.
Which is horseshit, to be honest, because there's so many things that people here do way better than me that I could never do. But it is that like I need to kind of relinquish the control of it, because if you don't, you can never scale, it can never grow, and you essentially just have a really, in my opinion, shitty job.
Yeah.
Where it's like now I do 14 different jobs, I do one of them good and the other 13 average or poorly, and now I'm stuck doing everything all the time, 7 days a week. And yeah, I guess you have the freedom because no one's telling you what to do, but you'd be better off working at a 9 to 5 than if that was the scenario. And it's a hard thing though for especially young entrepreneurs and business people. If you don't have the money, you can't really offset the tasks. But when you can find that middle ground or that Mendoza line of paying money, it's easier to especially pay people to do the things that are not unique tasks to you, especially if they can do them as good or more than likely better.
And you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in what you've created and the community within your environment of what you've built as an entrepreneur is the best for everybody involved, and let them take the helm and let them do their job. And that's been huge for me. It's actually been the one thing that has probably saved my life, because I've watched my dad and,
What year did you get to that?
I would say
how many years in business and what age were you when you're like, you know what?
It took me about 25 years to get to that point. And so at about 45, I was kind of letting go more and more, because I've had people that have been with me for a while, and I could see that they can complete these tasks and they don't need me, and I don't need to be CC'd on emails, and I don't have clients calling me direct anymore. They're calling them, and I'm not feeling inferior or insecure that, that Betty is going to leave me all of a sudden and take all my clients, because originally they're there for me anyways, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge place to come to if you can.
And the odds of Betty starting
her own thing
is like fucking zero, probably.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Pretty minimal. Like she works for you for a reason. But is that like probably if you look back, like, hey, what's the one, I don't want to say mistake, but the thing you probably wish you would have changed sooner than later? Like you have to do it for a certain amount of time, but it's like 25 years is a long time.
No, I don't. I think it happened at the perfect time, because again, everybody's timeline is different. And I didn't, again, meet my wife until, 11 years ago. So I just wasn't in that position yet. So after slowly meeting her and having a purpose to let that go, because getting back to that, I want to be able to spend more time with her. We can now drive up to Sholo, go to our tiny home. I can leave on a Thursday and come back on driving on Monday. And I don't have to, oh, look, hi, honey. And I don't have to, be physically in the office all the time. I don't have to be on my email all the time, because somebody's backing me up and they're just taking care of it. It's stuff that I would forward over to them anyway. So that's an amazing process to be able to come to and to be in. And so my timeline, the way it happened was perfect. But going back to my dad, he's 76. He lived and died by, in business, by people's responses and always being the solution. Okay. I can't be everybody's solution all the time, 100% of the time. I can build other people up to be that solution, which I have done. I've got 13 people that are all as good at what, doing that, if not better. Like, I don't even know how to get on the computer and quote anymore. It's like,
I believe it.
Yeah. I don't even know how to do a certificate of insurance, which is one of the most requested things we get. But why would I go do that? I know other agency owners that are, they're men that are in their mid 50s, late 50s, that are literally having heart attacks because they're doing all the shit from A to Z. They're not letting go. And for what's the cost? And they're not making any more money than me either. Like, you got to spend money in order to make money, whether that's marketing, advertising, good employees, taking care of employees, all that stuff. But you have to have that faith that if you do that it's going to work.
I do take pride in the fact that I still don't know how to create a PowerPoint presentation.
Neither do I.
And I honestly don't know how to really use Excel properly. Like, I don't really know how to do either of those two things. Again, here I sit. But it's not my wheelhouse. It's like there's people who are good at those things that I'm not great at. So yeah, alleviating those I do think is key. So That was my question. That's what the book is about?
Yeah, so just
In essence.
in essence, so just getting back to the book, it's like, okay, here I am, I'm 50, I named the book Just Getting Started. It's about reigniting the spark that's, inside of me. And really this can resonate to anybody, because even my kid at 20 something, he's trying to reignite his spark. Like he's like, God, how do I want to start a business. I don't want to go work for Joe over here and do this. He's starting to learn the ways of the world and what resonates with him. But for people, especially our age, that are, they've been working 9 to 5, they've been working in their own entrepreneurial path, they've been doing the same shit day in and day out, and then they sit down one day and they're listening to, an old Tupac song, or, whatever it is, Hall & Oates, something that resonated with them from back in the day. And they start feeling this twinge of joy, this thing that gives them these memories and these ideas of what it was like to be a kid again, and to be able to move and think about hobbies and things that they were never able to do because they were too busy doing other things. And whether those other things were important or not important, they were still doing other things. And so now this has given me the ability to be like, okay, let me revert back to being a child and the things that I want to do. And a lot of stuff that I've picked up recently is, calisthenics. I go and I play in a playground 2 days a week with a trainer, and I love it. I'm on a jungle gym, just being a kid again. But I'm also getting in mobility and movement and things that I couldn't even do when I was in my 30s, L-sits and all sorts of, crazy fun stuff like that. I enjoy that. Guitar lessons. I've been taking guitar lessons for the last 3 years. I am by no means a musician. I am absolutely horrible. But do I love going and sitting with him and watching him jam out, and then me trying to copy him, and then taking 10 to 20 minutes a day, which I call my meditation, with my, my 4 guitars, and trying to play a tune that resonated with me when I was a kid? Absolutely. So it's really, something that I put together for people to kind of use as a workbook or a guide to look back and be like, okay, what does it mean at this point in my life to restart something that maybe I never started, or to restart something that maybe I started but I never finished?
Well, and I think people get to whatever point it is in career, you feel like, I'm not saying you have like the quitting thing, but it's like you put so much time into something, they feel like they can't do anything else, right? And I don't know everybody's situation, like what your bills are, what you do or don't know, and your stressors in life. But I think people are, hey, they're 37, they're 46, they're 53, and they're like, well, fuck, I've put all this time into this thing. There's no way I can change gears or do something different. But you're not dead at 53. But I think in terms of career-wise, people kind of think like, well, now I'm just in a, I guess you call like a run out the clock situation, where they feel like they can't change gears at all. And I don't know your thoughts on that specifically, but if you want to touch on it, or just like your prime motivators in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and now obviously 50s, like what motivates you now versus what used to? And some of the stuff you're doing today, I'm assuming like you didn't even think you'd be doing maybe 10 years ago. And that just goes to show like, yeah, like insurance is what you do, I guess, on the face of it, but there's other things outside of that you're doing now way differently that were never, and anybody can do that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, insurance is a vehicle. It's a commodity. It's a service that, thank God for me and my family, everybody needs. Okay. They have to have, especially if you have a mortgage or a business that, has a lease. And it's been very good to me. And I've always been kind of like, people ask me what I did in the past, and it was almost like the bread of shame. I would just be like, oh, I sell insurance. It's like, it's not the sexiest job in the world. Not like I teach fitness,
Yeah, I teach jumping jacks for a living.
Right.
Yeah,
I know, but it's all relative, fancy. Right?
Yeah.
No,
don't get me wrong. Saying you do fitness is way cooler than saying you do insurance, bro. I go, but, at the end of the day, like, what's cool? Does what makes you money, what gives you free time, what gives you flexibility. And when you say it on the surface, though, even like selling insurance, like I joke on it on here because you do it, so I can talk shit about you.
Yeah.
I'm like, but it's more than that, though, because it is a thing you need, and it's like you don't give a fuck about it, and you think it's a ripoff until you need it.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And then when you do call and you get to talk to someone you actually know who can help you deal with this bullshit, I go, it is important. You know what I mean? Like, and you create relationships outside of that go far beyond just like, because it's almost like you're like an advisory role to people too. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. It's again, the mechanism allows me to do what I do best. And that's not understanding the ins and outs of the insurance policy I just sold you, because those things are, I can't even read them still. They're a nightmare. There's professionals that do that. But what I do best is create relationships. I create these, I mean, most of my clients have stayed with me for, I would say 90 to 95% of them have stayed with me, for a decade, if not longer. And that's because of a relationship that I've created. I enjoy the business of people. It's not the business of, hey, what can I sell you? How much can I sell it to you for? It's like, hey, I got this product, costs this much. It's going to protect you if something happens. Are you interested? And we're like, well, I like you. I want to buy you, And most of my clients I would consider friends. They're not transactions. I've never been a transactional type of person. I just enjoy the business of people. And so at this point in my life and my age, I've sold enough of those products to where the products are residual because you retain the clients. The products, they also create referrals because the referrals are those people that are the relationship that bring you more business, right? I have the structure to be able to take it in and create more of that. So what can I do more of now? I can go spend time with those relationships and offer more value. And the value may not even be in insurance. It might be in a book, and it might be something that resonates with them, where it's like one thing that helps change their life. Or it might be like with what we're doing, with building a community and giving value and tips and things that in business or just even in life that helps people. Because believe it or not, I get asked probably more questions about non-insurance things than I do insurance because of my experiences of life. And if you follow me online, you'll just see I put everything out there. I don't care, not that I don't care, I do care. And that's why I do it.
So when you look at what's the primary motivator now, I guess besides money, because again, in business, at the end of the day, we can all talk about some esoteric shit of this is what it means to us. And yeah, we do help people, but it's if we don't make money, the doors aren't open. So it's irrelevant. And again, not that it's not still your primary motivator, because I'm sure it is. But the difference between when you're 29, 39 or 49, how does any of that stuff change of you know what, when I'm 36, you're just worried about, let me build the business to grow bigger, make more money, become more profitable. This is what I have to do. And not that at 56, it won't be the same, but there is things that do change and shift just because you've created more margin in your life. And this is what I'm again, if I'm talking about a giant corporation, it's different.
Yeah.
But you don't have huge overhead in your personal life. You know what I'm saying?
No.
You don't have house payments and car payments and credit card debt and student loans. You don't have these things. So you've created this margin to be able to be more generous and giving with time and energy and do different projects where when you're, I'm assuming 36, you do not. You're doing more just build. And then maybe it's like me, I'm obviously in my 40s. You ask yourself the question, what the fuck am I building it for? What are we building this to do? And what's the point of all this? At the end of the day, what is really driving me to get my ass up at 4 a.m. every day? It can't be just money.
It's not. I mean, money to me is energy. So money, at least what money does for me is that when I look in the bank account or somebody, gives something back, they find that there's a value in it. And I like to feel valued, just like other people like to feel valued. So that's big. But when I wake up every day, now I don't wake up going, oh my God, I have to sell this policy I can't wait to do it. I can't wait to go. And I find myself, again, reverting back to the kid when I owned a street marketing company. I owned a company called Diamond in the Rough, and when I worked in the music business. And I would have boxes of flyers in the back of my Saturn. I had a Saturn. Who made Saturn? I guess it was Saturn, right?
Yeah, it'd be like a Saturn something, though.
Yeah, it was Saturn something. It was a 4-door sedan.
Do they even make those anymore?
No, I don't think so.
At all?
No. But I love my Saturn. And so in the back of my Saturn, I'd have just boxes of stuff from the celebrity theater that was having shows. And I would go and I would hand out flyers and promoting concerts and stuff like that. And I got a thrill out of that. And now I find myself at 50, I wake up every day with I find myself as being the Michael Jordan of hospitality insurance, especially in Arizona. And I just want to go out and I want to score 30, every single day. And with that is going and finding another relationship of somebody that's opening a restaurant or somebody that I haven't been able to get in 10 years, which just happened the other day. That's exciting to me because it's about winning at this time. And it's not just winning for me and my staff, it's also winning for them. So, I mean, I just picked up a client that I've been trying to get for 10 years. And when I say trying to get, I met them 10 years ago, we check in every couple of years. No, I really like my age, I'm staying here. They have a problem. What do we do in business? The only thing that people want us to do is to solve their problem. So this guy comes to me with his problem, and guess what? I've solved his problem and I saved him $30,000. Guess what? Now he's my client after 10 years. That was a win to me. And it wasn't even about the money, although we will get paid, and that's a good, exchange of energy. But it's the fact that I won. I scored 30 that day.
On a side note, Saturn cars were disbanded in 2010 because they were going to go bankrupt because they sucked so bad.
There you go.
There you go. Man, what a great time to be alive.
Saturn, baby. I had one. You're busy looking at that.
I really wanted to know. That seemed like they're just shitbox. I never saw one. I was like, man, that Saturn's sick. You know what I'm saying? Like, what was the other one? Like in Breaking Bad, Walter White drove the Pontiac Aztec. That was like a shitbox too. It looked like a big box of shit.
Do they even have minivans anymore?
For sure, right? Like the Honda Odyssey. That's a minivan.
Oh, yeah.
But like, not in Scottsdale, they're like few and far between. People just get Escalades here.
Yeah.
Which is so over the top. Unless you have like 1,000 kids. It seems like you don't need all that.
No, you don't.
Anyways, that's me. So yeah, I guess that answers the question. So if we segue into this too, just because of like where you're at in terms of age, time frame, you do so much on like social media too. In an insurance space, it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
What day did you just start like, you know what, I'm going to do this and be on social? Is it like just like a business differentiator of why you chose to do it? Or just like, hey, I just like to get on there, talk shit and share stuff? Or was there a real like plan behind it when you initially started? Like, hey, it humanizes me more. It gets me out in front of people more. I'm on top of mind more. Because again, when I look at certain things, like it's getting better in industries like where back in the day, like real estate never did it. And now the smart people do it, because I'm like looking at homes is kind of like essentially like looking at food, where people do like food reviews. Everybody eats, everybody kind of lives inside of a home or an apartment or whatever it may be. But in like your space, it's not really something that's out there.
No, it's not. And I still don't see it out there. And I don't know if it's because it's an industry that has just been so traditionally like, I don't know, stuffy in essence. And if you were to go do something like that and create some sort of educational stuff like for Instagram and things like of that nature, that the industry would look at you as not being able to take you serious. And understanding like a lot of insurance agents, they take their job very seriously. And it's not that I don't, but I've created a niche to where I'm allowed to be who I am. And that's a hospitality person. Because I would talk about this all the time. Like if I walked into a bar in a suit and tie, they would be like, dude, get out of here. Like we got shit to do, right?
It just doesn't fit the setting.
Doesn't fit the setting. They don't want to hang out with that guy. But most insurance, agents, that's how they are. They're very proper. They're very put together. They're very intelligent in the essence of what it is that they're selling. And so if you ask me to wear a suit and tie and try to go sell to a big pharmaceutical company or this, it's just not who I am. Could I do it? Yeah, but it wouldn't be me. It's not what resonates. And that's one thing I'm very proud of, is that I never had to go sell myself to be somebody else in order to just make money. I went in for the long haul. And I made money over time, and I still get to be who I am. Who I am today right now, and this will parlay into your social media question, who I am today now is no different than who I was when I was 20. Yes, it's different in the fact that I'm older and I do things a little bit differently, but as a person that loves to be outspoken and outgoing and vulnerable and emotional, that's no different. And so when social media came out, I didn't have a problem. I was always that kid with the huge video camera with the VHS tape that I took at the Camelback Mountain. I have a video of me climbing Camelback Mountain back when I was 18 years old. Okay. I'm 50 now. They didn't have cell phones with cameras back then. I had long ass hair, and of course my shirt was off then too. And, again, not much has changed. So now I'm just able to do it from my phone and put it out there. And again, I was able to create a niche that allows me to continue to be myself, for people in that world to look at me and say, this dude's relevant. Oh, this dude insures all these people. This dude does all this stuff. So it's been a blessing for me.
So if I look at it not from a scope of like, obviously like in our mastermind group, it's a majority, you have a bunch of fitness people. So not that they follow my playbook, but in the space we do, like in fitness does a lot of things wrong. it's the easiest thing to like literally film and put out there.
Yeah.
It's exercise demonstration or it's workout creation content, which is low hanging fruit. But in your space, not so much. So if there's any like entrepreneur type people in your space, or like they're in the accounting space or something like, and they ask you like, hey Dave, I see you're doing all this stuff. What do you suggest that like I do? Like what's the tactic or protocol that like you would do if you were in my arena? And the ones that they are in your arena, but they obviously aren't going to do, like, again, we've had different insurance. You do our insurance here now. We've had different people before where I can imagine like them making a fucking video. Even the technology I think would bury them, which they do need to learn. But there's the personality type is different, but they don't need to be your personality. So what would you say to those guys?
Yeah. So social,
because you know the people you work with. So imagine there's 10 people at a conference you go to, and they're like, Dave, we want to kind of do what you do. Like, what do we do?
Yeah, it to me, it all comes down to storytelling and stories that are actually relevant to the person, to their business, and what it is that they're trying to have people understand about them and learn. And again, relevancy to me is the main tool of social media. I don't use social media to go on. I do a little bit of educational stuff, but a lot of times people might see me talking about, say, policy form on a claim that had happened because of a fire, and they're just going to scroll right through that. For the most part, they don't care. I save that stuff more for educational series on YouTube that I can send the people when and if those questions sort of happen. So for me, the social media is more of a fun place to be able to and as I would tell these people, have people get to know you, have them get to know you personally, have them get to know the person or persons within your organization, and showcase all of that sort of stuff, because that at the end of the day is who they're going to be doing business with. They don't care if the company is West Bend or Pekin or State Farm. They're not loyal to a company, but they might just be loyal to somebody that has the same values, and they understand and they feel a part of their business family. And maybe sometimes even if you want to put your family out there, because they can resonate with that and feel like they're a part of it.
And a lot of times it's just documenting.
Yeah.
Like, kind of, because people buy you at the end of the day.
That's right.
That's really what it is. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, if it's, again, and all these insurance companies, even the big dudes now kind of have like essentially like a mascot or somebody you identify with, whether it's like Flo at Progressive, or the Geico guy, or Jake at State Farm, or like what, I mean, they've done the same thing. They're trying to put a face and a personality on essentially a monster conglomerate.
Well, here's what's funny about that. Everybody but State Farm, like, I sell Flow and I now sell the Gecko. Believe it or not, Geico had always been an online company, direct to consumer sort of thing. And now they've switched and they've given brokers like myself the ability to sell their product, which in 30 years, I never thought that would ever happen. It's crazy. And all that dictates to me is that in this time where things are so oversaturated online, that people are still looking for those relationships. They're still looking for the tools or the availability that, because here's what I think Geico's thinking of, and Berkshire Hathaway, they're no dummies. I probably have about 5 of their writing companies we write with, and they're very good at what they do. And so their frame of reference, the way that I think that they're thinking is that, hey, let's give it to select brokers that have been in the game for a long time. Let's give them the ability to sell our product, because they don't have that ability now. So not only are we going to tap into their relationships that probably wouldn't go online and go to us because they're so tied in with this relationship here, but let's tap into their relationships. And now we have a brand name where we're like, I know your, and again, being a broker, I have multiple companies. So it's like, hey, I know your rate went up with Progressive, but by the way, we got Geico here and it's about $500 less and the policy is pretty comparable. Are you interested? And then it's a win-win for both.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask too, before I forget, how, like, maybe not now, but maybe early on, like, you go to a ton of restaurants and bars still, and you'll go to things like the Arizona Beer Festival, but you don't drink booze.
Right.
Like, was it a pain in the ass, like, early on, or like, is any of it now? Because I think of myself, right? Like, I'm not addicted to a lot of things anymore, but like in the booze, I could probably do without. But it's like I used to chew like my fucking face off like all the time. Yeah. And if there was like, I mean, it would be disgusting, like come to this chew festival where everybody's just either gutting it or spitting into tins. I'm like, but I don't want to be around it. Like, it's the one thing like that I can never do again. Because if I do it, I'll just get on a reel of like, I'm just going to be back into the same old routine where it's like, I can drink a beer now and like, I don't want to drink 20 beers.
Yeah.
My body can't take it. I can't handle it. But that would like be the thing. So for you, because you go into these environments, but yet you drink zero alcohol, what is that like?
It's not a big deal. Like I'm not going to go to a nightclub like I used to be the man or whatever. A, I'm married because I don't need to play that game anymore. B, I don't want to drop I'm 50. I'm not going to drop $2,000 on bottle service.
C, you go to bed at 8 p.m.
And C, I go to bed at 8 p.m. So yeah, so there's a lot of things that in the nightclub world that are not going for it. Plus, I've seen the amount of claims, and I know a lot of what happens in these places, and they're not the most profit. They're not really that profitable at all for insurance companies per se, but they are profitable for themselves. So the everyday, like going to a restaurant, seeing alcohol, going to these craft beer events, I'm now at a point in my career, in my life, where I've become the mayor. Right? It's like I'm not an insurance guy. I'm D-Lo.
Shaking hands,
and just shaking hands. And the thing is they love to see me out there because, again, it's not like I'm going and selling them on insurance. I'm there to support their industry. I'm there to support their businesses in a way where I'm giving them resources and values and introductions. And I get more phone calls than I can count on a weekly basis of somebody needing a general manager or needing a payroll company or needing all these things that I affiliate with or with my tenure in business. I can be a resource to them. So for me, it's actually more fun to go do that stuff now because I'm not in any sort of a sales mode of having to go up to somebody's booth and saying, hey, who does your insurance? And I've never been that way. It's just kind of always happened organically. But what I did do is I made sure that I became a member and a friend and a supporter of all of these organizations that are supporting all these smaller businesses. And that's what's really, helped me through. So yeah, it doesn't have an effect on me whatsoever.
Like early on, did it or no? Like when you're decided like, hey man, I'm boozing all the time. And then you're like, fuck it. No, I'm not gonna, but now I'm still gonna go to some of these events and not fall back into the same routine I used to do.
No, I would just fall back into the same routine. Like it just, there were times where I took like a year break from like drinking and this and that. And then I would show up and I would either like, smoke a cigar or pretend like, this seltzer water was going to do it. And I was hanging out with the boys and doing it. And it just didn't last for long. I had to pull myself completely out of that environment to make it work for myself. And the best thing that happened to me to be at the part of life now where I'm at, just getting started. There's me having it like that.
Shredded.
You should have the book turned over. Is my wife. I mean, to have purpose. Look, Kim never dictated to me like you need to do this, this, and this. She allowed it to be my choice. Obviously, I wanted to make the right choice for our relationship to, prosper in the way that it needed to. And again, I don't necessarily like to tell people like, oh, I'm sober, 10 years. Sober is not even the right word. It's just I made a decision to move into a different phase of my life 10 years ago. And it wasn't that hard for me to make that decision. And it's not that hard for me to stick to that decision because I just don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah. Where some people, it's like a general, like, it's an addiction, like where they go through the thing. Yours was more, I'm in this environment. This is what people do. This is what we do. And like, I'm just kind of essentially fitting in. So I guess the last thing on that, like for younger people who listen, maybe they don't want to do it at scale, but hey, they're a finance guy, they're an insurance guy, they're a realtor or whatever. And a lot of these things, these relationships are built around food and booze. Like, let's be real. Like where I watch, again, what I do is, this is a rare thing here. Don't ever do fitness. Don't want to do this. I'm like, but I don't have to do shit. I don't got to go anywhere. I don't got to see anybody. Everything is in my ecosystem, in my world, and you can come here and you can talk to me or you cannot. I don't give a fuck. But I'm old and I have money and it's different. If I was 26 and I'm in like finance, I know how those things work. I watch Heather's work. Like, and again, it's hospitality. So it's always the best food, always the best booze, and it's always over the top, and it's access at your fingertips all the time. And I watch people, and there's no judgment here, but I watch them in the environment, and I'm like, everybody here is like 4 drinks in, and everybody gets a little bit looser. They become friends. That's how the relationships are created. Now, without doing any of that, how do you see I guess what I'm asking is like, do you ever get here if you didn't do that the first like fucking 10 years in the game because hey, I'm in bar and restaurant insurance, but I never go to bars and I never drink.
No.
Well, how the fuck do you become friends with these guys then and build a relationship with them?
You don't own 13 bars. You don't become best friends with one of the biggest nightclub owners in Arizona. You don't not oversaturate yourself with the element of what's going on and understanding what's going on. Part of me, like being part of the society and actually understanding what the risk is that I'm going to write, is being in it and knowing what goes on and not sitting behind a desk and pretending like, you know.
So like being in a club and watching like
the fights, the overservance, the all the stuff that goes on, like to have firsthand experience of that, that's real life experience. And that to me is what tells me, has made me the bar, restaurant, insurance Michael Jordan that I am, because I've lived it, I've owned it, I've been a part of it. Doesn't mean you have to do it the rest of your life.
No, just a season of it.
Just a season of it.
So if like it's a young kid out there, they just kind of have to do what you do. Like, hey, they don't really drink, but you're going out for happy hour. Like you got to just fake it.
You know, it just
like you're let's say you're 32 and you're trying to build your book of shit, and these are the events you're going to, like.
You got to ask yourself, is this the career for me?
Yeah.
You know, because that stuff still goes on. By the way, I was looking at Heather's stories the other day, speaking of Heather, and she was posting all these desserts, like as I'm getting,
dude.
Oh, it's like ridiculous, the amount of food that they.
Like when I tell people, like when we go, they have these events a couple times a year. They have these like fam weekends too, where it's like they send us for free places.
Yeah.
When you go there, it's always over the top. It's why, like, if she ever quits, dude, like it's like we'll be like hotel homeless essentially, because I'm never like, I would never pay for this stuff. Like it's a great experience and it's awesome, but I'm like, it is insanely expensive, like to go to these places. But when you go, like we've been to some of the ones at like Desert Ridge, like the last restaurant opening they had up there, but even like some of the private events they'll have for like her team of people, you go there's like 8 food stations. And it's all like, here's this fucking Wagyu steaks here, here's seafood here. They have a giant like ice sculpture, like basically in the shape of like the JW Marriott logo that's there. And then that has like seafood in it. And then they'll have like fucking s'mores, but like in like a chimenea built and like all the different things. And then all the booze is free. And you sit there and the one thing I do say is I go, if I worked in this industry, I'd be 400 pounds. Like I would be 4 bills or just have like, it would be so hard to do because you're in the environment. Because it's the best. It's not like shitty stuff. It's the best food, it's the best drinks, and it's always free. And that's the environment that she's in. Like it would be very hard to do, especially if you traveled for work or if you have access to these things. Like I wouldn't want to have like cold beer and cheeseburgers as like a client, you know, and I go there because I would want to drink beer and eat cheeseburgers, like legitly.
So when you go to Heather's events, because I know people want to know this, do you just go all out because it's there?
If we go to the ones, I usually like plan it. So it's like we went to the last one we did, it was, I'm going to get the name wrong. Tia Carmen's the one restaurant at the GW.
Yeah,
the other
good.
one is, I think it's Kambara. It's like an Asian type, like they had a fucking band there. They had all these like influencers. It's like very, very bougie. It's at a nice resort and the restaurant's great. But they probably had literally like 100 pounds of fucking Wagyu steak there. And they had to throw a ton of it away. Because I'm like, I eat as much as I can. But I'll eat that type of stuff. I don't usually eat the shit. Like if it's desserts, I wait as long as I can, like until we're gonna leave.
Yeah,
and then I'll grab the stuff because otherwise, like, dude, you could pack in, and I don't care about the calories, but I just don't want to feel like a bag of shit.
Right.
And with the booze, like I don't booze like I used to, and also like I'm there as a guest. I don't want to be this fucking 200-pound gorilla fucking talking shit. You know what I mean? Like I just am very. Like I don't, and you see like people in those. That's the other thing too. Like if you go to work events and you're going to be in the community. Just understand, like, you're at work or you're around work people. Like, you know, Jeremy of 2005 and 6 is not the same Jeremy that needs to show up today.
No.
Like, Jeremy who talks to his friends and drinks is not the same Jeremy who has drinks around these professional people. Even though it's not my business, like, this is me personally, I would never want to say anything embarrassing or be that guy, like, in my wife's arena that does it. So I just keep it pretty close to the vest with most things.
Do you structure yourself like on a weekly basis to be like, okay, Saturday is my day to just kind of like, if I'm going to eat whatever I want, that's because you have Metcon on Sunday?
Yeah. My entire world is built around for me to be successful. That's the one thing in business and in life and anything, because it's all your time. Like if you look at all of your stuff, like everything's your lifetime. You can say like work time or free time, whatever the fuck, dude. In this life, it all bleeds together. There is no fuck. This morning, like, I get up, I'm on my phone first. Heather's gone. I walk my dogs. I come back home. I do the dishes. Then I'm back on my email. Like it all just kind of goes in one. And so when I structure a week, I'm like, here's the days where my work is longer. And here's when I'm going to schedule meetings. Here's when I'm going to schedule my harder workouts. Here's the lighter workouts. And even if it's food stuff, like we'll go out to eat with, like if I give like a real life example, like next Friday, Dave and Jacqueline, Dries and his wife, we'll go out to dinner with them. I don't know where, I don't really know what time, but it's Friday at some point. So I'll kind of structure all my stuff to kind of make that fit.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll do it a little bit different than I normally do on my free time. And I do like, hey, I'm going to, if I eat like shit on Saturday, I'll fast most of the day, eat a shittier high calorie meal, wake up Sunday, I'm fasted, I train Sunday. I usually am in here with the podcast with you guys, or it's like I'm working and then I'll eat later in the day and kind of let the fast run. That works best for me. But everything I do, like nothing is by accident. I know like on the outside, like I look like a fucking just a big dummy who's in here lifting weights. I go, but everything I do is by design. Like I didn't get here on accident, and I'm in my 40s. And so I thought about this the other day, like I'm not special, but I look pretty much the fucking same for the last 10 years. When I was 28 or 9, I was probably a little bit bigger just because I was trying to be big. But from like 31 to 41, I pretty much look the exact same, and I can kind of do similar things, but it's like, it's so much more effort. And so I can't just like fuck around like I could when I was 27 and do it. Now it's just very methodical, and that's how I've gotten here. And I think most people, if you're going to be extremely fit and run your business and do stuff, like I'm a process guy just like you. I don't do it the same way you do, but essentially it's the same way you do.
Yeah. No, we're very similar in that. And you just answered your own question, which is really brilliant when I listen to you, because you revert back to the 32-year-old that, is he going to have to go to the bars and do what, this and that. And we talk about this all the time. Nobody's ever going to do what you've done. Nobody's ever going to duplicate what I've done. It's just not going to happen. That ship has sailed. Now there might be different types of people to do different things in different ways, but time is always changing. The environment of which we live in, the way business is done, the way products are put out, they're always changing. So we live to live, and you and I, we live our lives. That's it. Like right now, this is fun, this is work, this is living, this is everything. This is just what I do, And I think a lot of times people get in that trap of not doing what they do. They're doing a job, or they're like, okay, now this is my vacation. They get so like fixated on having to take that vacation and escape this job. And I get ridiculed for this a lot from my wife. She's like, we never go anywhere. That's why we bought like a house somewhere else so that I could escape. And I'm getting better at that. But the fact of the matter is that no matter what, I always have this thing on me. And no matter what, whether you call it a vacation, because I'm not sitting behind the four walls that I've, built, there's still 0 emails in my inbox by the end of the day. I will find a time and a way to compartmentalize and do that. But I've also found a mechanism to live my life and to do those other things. So when you look at 32-year-old Bill that's going to bars and doesn't necessarily want to be there, say he doesn't drink, say he doesn't... Is he really making the right choice for him to live the life that he needs to live, thinking that he's going to build a book of business of hospitality that is not relatable to him? There's so many other things that he could do.
Yeah, I mean, it's seasons of life too. I think people need to understand that, like in your fitness or in your business or in your marriage or whatever it is, it really doesn't matter. Like it's not always going to be the same. And so, yeah, there is going to be things you have to do at 26 and 32 that you might not have to keep doing at 42 and 51. I'm like, but there's a season of life for it. There's a lot of things I used to do that I don't do anymore, because they don't serve me anymore, and because there's other avenues I can get the same result, or it's just something that's been built and I don't have to rebuild it again. But that's just kind of knowing like where you're at. If you're in like the entrepreneurial world, I don't know how to say, and everybody's going to be different. There's some of you who might be just like, fucking geniuses, and you just figure it out super quick and it works for you instantly. But odds are that's not you. It's just, there's so few people like that. So the first probably like legitly 10 years are going to, I don't want to say suck, because I've enjoyed like all of it, but there is this disproportionate amount of work and life balance you have for an extended period of time if you're going to build anything that is relatively sustainable and creates any value in the world and that has the legs to kind of make it the distance of like your career. It's just like I don't have to go to, you know, horse shows anymore on a Friday night and watch like a client's kid ride a horse around for 4 hours. I go, but that's something I did do. I used to go to like every fucking birthday party.
Yeah.
I used to go like, hey, yeah, we'll volunteer at your kid's school and sit with your kindergartners and talk to them about like exercise and shit, where it's like, I'm not saying I would never do that again, but it doesn't make the money it needs to make. And like the community building piece, like I've already done that. And the same thing with like, hey, will you go to this event in New York City? It's like, maybe if it's like in New York, like probably not. I go, but if it's like somewhere like better and the weather's better and it fits my schedule, maybe I will. Or back in the day, I used to always do that stuff, but that was a season of life. I don't have to do some of those things anymore. But when you guys are starting out, there's going to be a lot of stuff you're doing that you don't want to do that builds the community, that builds the relationships, that actually builds the business. And then if you do it correctly and you have systems set in place, hopefully you can kind of, I don't want to say set it and forget it, but you can kind of live off of the stuff you did early on.
Yeah, and there's different, like you said, in seasons of life, there's different rewards that you see has rewards during those seasons of life. So for me, when I was in my 20s and I would go out and party and drink, I might pick up an account. And that was a reward for
You might pick up some chicks.
might pick up some babes, right? And
Win.
honey, that never happened. No chicks were ever into me. But you know, that season of life was it was good to me. But now I don't get a reward from doing that at 50, especially the chicks part, because I have a chick at home.
Well, yeah, and it's like it's in fitness. I would give an example of like I used to always think it was super cool, like if you could be on the covers of magazines, or if Men's Health put me on, or Reebok, or how I met like Sean, who's here. I met Sean through Livestrong, if he even remembers. We filmed like 200 videos, and like first of all, like I had no fucking business doing that. It was terrible. Like how to train for a biathlon. Like I didn't even know what a biathlon was. And I'm signed up to do a video. It's embarrassing. I go, but that used to give me like this external validation of like, hey man, everybody thinks you're like super fit and shredded and whatever. And like, I got something from that. It's been like probably a decade since that's meant anything of fuck all to me. Like, I just don't really care.
Yeah.
Like I want to like, can I help my people be better? Like, can we make money for my family to provide a lifestyle that I want? And like, can I create a community and an atmosphere where people feel comfortable and then come in here and do cool shit? Like, that's really like what it boils down to. I go, so there's different things that change where now it's like, I used to get up for like filming fitness videos. 'Cause I'm like, oh, it's going to be cool. Like I'm going to look so shredded and people will see it. Now I'm like, dude, like, you know what I look like? Like how many times are you going to see me do jumping jacks? Like it's not, my motivators have changed drastically over the years. And I think you have to keep like gamifying it, like creating some type of game for you to keep you going and keep you motivated to do it. 'Cause otherwise it's like, you lose the initial steam of anything. And that's why like you have to, like a dinosaur, like you're going to be extinct if you don't kind of evolve. And that's the same thing with this. It's like, what's the next thing that motivates me to keep doing what got me started? But I personally have to have these, I guess kind of intrinsic carrots to always keep kind of going after. And you have to create them for yourself essentially.
So at 41, I wanted to ask you this. Do you have, well, I guess regardless of your age, just at this point in your life, do you have people that come to you on a regular basis or a non-regular basis, doesn't matter, that are like, hey, Jeremy, I want to sit down with you and, either be a part of your team and train, or I want to, quote unquote, learn what you do. And so when I'm sure you do get that, when you do get that, how do you compartmentalize that in your mind and either want to or not want to make the time? Because you know that most people are never going to do the work.
I mean, and David Jack told me this a long time ago. He's like, anybody who comes and works for you, he's like, just give them everything.
Yeah.
Answer every question they have. Be transparent with them. Put them in every position you can to be successful. So he's like, when they eventually do leave and do probably something else, he's like, they can never say like Jeremy didn't help and put me on the path. So I'll sit, if anyone really is genuine about it and not just like, honestly, it's why we do the podcast. Because if you want to know what this is like we did an episode called like why we still own a gym, and Heather and I come on and we talk about it, and I've pretty much answered every question you could ask. But if you genuinely want to sit down, like you can pay money for the for the calls.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it, dude. I'm probably painfully transparent with it, and I don't want to ever talk anybody out of it. I think this is it's a great career if you really like love fitness, but not like just doing fitness. I think people get confused and think like it's just exercising. And that's literally such a small part of what this is. Now sadly, you have to build a successful business on top of being really fit. If your business is built on you being really fit, you're probably better off like just being a normal person who exercises and likes to have the knowledge and not have your body be the kind of face of what you do. It's a way easier path. I'm speaking from experience. But if this is really what you want to do, like I'm happy to sit and break it down for you, but I'll tell you what it's like. And statistically, like what the odds are of it ever happening. And I say it for me too, like the odds of me sitting here are so rare. The 15 things that had to go right. And a lot of people think like it's like the timing of things insanely matters. Luck, circumstance, talent. But if you ask me like what's the most important thing, and this is not to score points with my wife because I don't fucking need to do that. I'm like, the partner you pick, dude, is the most important thing by far.
Yeah.
Like every single entrepreneur I've had in here that is successful, male, female, doesn't matter. It's the other person that you're connected with because either A, they support your fucking nonsense throughout this, like, just the sheer audacity that you have as a person to think that you can run a business on your own by yourself and actually make money and provide a life for your family, especially when it starts from zero, is insane. So you have this person who has this unwavering belief in your nonsense, which is very, very hard to find. And then you're basically pulling them into it. And then you have to delay this gratification for extended periods of time. So that is the most important thing. And then you add in the fact of like when you got into the business, when social media was kind of, rolling through. When did you capture your first amount of clients? When did you build the biggest base of your business? Like, did you buy the real estate you're in? Like all these little pieces. And I'll break that down and say, hey, if these things didn't go right for me, I would have shifted and pivoted and done this differently. Like if I didn't own this space and I was renting a space and then COVID happens, right? And I got to like re-up a lease, like on the back end of this, I'm not fucking doing it.
No.
Jeremy Scott Fitness isn't here, as you guys know it, because I could have made more money just spending my time on the internet and not putting it into, essentially you're talking like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of real estate, of building out a building. So you're into it for at least $600-700K off the top, like at minimum. And like now, if you're doing that again today, you're probably at $2 million. And like, am I going to spend $2 million to create a community for people to come do exercise? Like, how long until I recoup that? 1,000 lifetimes?
Yeah, and to your point, like when we talked to the gentlemen in our mastermind group that happen to be in fitness, and these guys they're absolute killers. They're doing a great job. I love watching their growth and what they're doing, but you now get to a point now where you have to create niches in a blanketed sort of, industry. And I know there's always been that sort of thing. There's been, how do I say, trends, but now there's like niches. Now there's like the golf niche, the hotel workout, all sorts of like different stuff.
You train girls' butts.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
It's all business.
Yeah. Well, they're buying you. At the end of the day, like I'll always tell people, I'm like, and I joke, like I'm a dummy who put my name on the front door, and I would do it different. But if you ask me, like, I wouldn't, because it's allowed me all these opportunities and it's allowed me to do all these things and work with all these brands. And I go speak at the events because it's me. Yeah. Like if I named it, Scottsdale Fitness, like who gives a shit?
Right.
That doesn't mean anything because it's my name. Yeah, I'm married to it, but that's who I am anyway. Like killers kill. Like if you're an apple tree, you make fucking apples. Like I only know how to do one thing. Yeah. Like, so I'm going to show up here and I'm going to work my fucking ass off. And like, that's just how it's going to be. And I don't mind that, and it lives and dies with me and like, that's okay. So I would tell anybody if you're, especially in fitness, like, yeah, make it about you, dude, because they can buy squats anywhere. Like your stuff is unique to you. And whether it be your personal life or your programming or whatever it may be, like that's the one thing I go, but just know it is a saturated space, like most things. There's no room for shitty people, but there's room for like really good people. And if you keep your overhead low and you work your fucking ass off, like you'll make it. Like there's kids in our group, like Chris. Like Chris is in Kentucky, and I don't know. I've been to Louisville, but other than that, like I don't know shit about Kentucky or the market. Right. I can promise you it is much different than Scottsdale is. I go, but the kid fucking works super hard. And like, he's just going to take all the pieces and just show up and work and work and work. And like, I'm sure he's making a pretty good fucking life for himself, and he's pretty successful and makes a good amount of money and all those things. So it can be done, but it is not easy to do. And you could pick literally any other field in the world and put in the same amount of effort and probably make 5x what you'd make.
Do you think AI is going to play a game in fitness?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to smoke.
It already is in our business.
It's going to smoke a lot of people, dude. I mean, you see it like, not to like to shift gears, but it's the same thing. Like, you see like OnlyFans girls that are fake, completely AI. And I don't think people even know. Dude, like, we were watching like Jordan here, who does website stuff for you and I.
Yeah.
Like, he showed me the AI videos.
Oh, that's right.
Like the
insurance agents.
Yeah. And like the girl, and it's sad because the programmers make the girls the best because they're kind of creepy and they spend more time on the hot chicks. That's, if you got a dick, that's what you do.
Yeah.
But I watched this girl talk, and she's very attractive, and I couldn't tell she wasn't real.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell at all.
Fucking wild.
And I'm like, so if that's happening, that's now happening on OnlyFans, where guys are creating relationships with fake women and paying them money. And so like some guy in Russia or wherever is just like running these fake hot girls, and he's making 10, 15, 20K a month. So I'd be naive to think that you wouldn't get like a more attractive, younger version of me on there to not say dumb shit. And like, you can basically make it whatever you want it to be. And so my demo, like yours, your demo ages as you age.
Yeah.
So the people who like me for me are going to stay with me. The people who want a younger, more attractive version of, you know, whatever the fuck they're looking for, like, you can go find that. That's not what I'm offering. I go, but this will be here. But yeah, I don't know. I used to think like always, like the internet would be the thing that would take over, and then all of the in-person stuff would kind of go away from me. And like, then someone would just come buy this whole fucking building and pay me $5 million, or they'd just say, hey, I'm going to rent the space out to, you know, somebody's, you know, bike shop, and they're going to pay me $10K a month in residuals, and I'm fine with that too. But now that I think about it, like, and I watch how fast things are moving, maybe that the in-person stuff is the only thing that remains. Maybe the gym community is the only thing that's left, and where people are like, you know what, we don't want to do more fitness on the internet, or maybe they do, or it's a hybrid of it. But AI can't replace the human connection. It's the one thing it can't do. Now it can learn to do blue collar jobs eventually.
Yeah.
Like, it can maybe learn to become a plumber at some point. I think that's a ways away. But these other jobs, like financial advising, shit like that,
accounting,
dude, they're algorithms. They're trading. Now, I'm an older person, so I always want to go talk to Palomi if it's about my CPA shit. I want to go talk to Brian about my fucking money, because I want to see a person. Even I know he's not trading it in real time, I don't feel like it's so like foreign to me. Yeah. And then the same thing, like if it's in person here, like you can go get an AI version to teach you how to squat and do push-ups. Like, that's not that complex. I go, but to come in here and make friends and talk with me and have a relationship with me and have me actually like look at your body and how you move, and we can change your program on the fly based on how things hurt, like that I think will always be there. So yeah, I do think AI is going to fuck up a lot of people's stuff. I really, to the point of like where in my lifetime, like I mean, this podcast can go real dark real fast. Like, you know, we do like a universal basic income, which I'm not a fan of, but because there's so many people displaced by AI stuff, you're just paying them a wage to like live by. And then, then you have basically essentially like a bunch of fucking drones depending on the government, which I don't think is good. So I'm a fan of just paying people in general. But yeah, I do think in the next, like, I don't even say 5 years, it'll really be a disruptor. And I don't know if we're like ready for any of that.
Yeah, I get scared of, and I've heard this, you know, on other podcasts, and it does resonate. I get scared of people losing purpose, you know, or not having the ability to go and find their, you know, find their passions.
Well, yeah, there's like a moral like hazard you have when you give away. It's kind of how I feel about like student loan forgiveness. Yeah. Hey, let's forgive all these loans you signed up for. Like, and I know that people will get butthurt by this, but I'm like, you fucking signed up for them, dude. They're your responsibility. They're nobody else's. And money just doesn't go away. And if you're going to forgive their loans, are you going to, all the people who paid theirs off, are retroactively going to go back and like give my wife back the money that she paid off? Yeah. You're not. Like, that's horse shit. And you create this kind of moral hazard. And the way I tie that in is like, when you're just going to say, hey, AI took over your jobs, now we'll just pay you guys $1,800 a month to stay at home. People will then work to just the minimum. Like, when you don't give people incentive to do things, they don't do things.
Yeah.
And there has to be some external, like, hey, why am I getting up today and going to work and doing stuff? And I know money is a part of it, but when you just say, hey, sit at home and we'll just pay you, what incentivizes people then to do anything? And then how do we get innovation? How do we get creation when like so few people are motivated to go do stuff? So I don't know. I don't have the answer for it, but
Well, just look at COVID and how that affected people. People were getting checks, and then all of a sudden people weren't having to come back to work, and now you have all these offices closed, and now that's just become the norm.
yeah, I think you're seeing that switch too, where you're seeing the world, the economy kind of moving and shifting, and these companies are like, well, if you don't come back to work, you're fired.
Yeah.
And you're seeing them just lay people off. It's kind of like a way they can, I guess, I go both ways on that because it's like working from home would probably be awesome if you did it, and it would suck to go into an office, but it's like if they want you to come in, man. And let's be real, like you do, for the most part, you're on better behavior when you're in an office than when you're at home. Sorry, everybody. I hate to say that, but I watch clients here. Like, it's fuckery, dude.
Right.
Like, if you can fuck around, you'll fuck around. Like, my shit is like, if I don't work, I don't make money. Like, so if and I don't mean that like if I'm physically here, but like if I'm not coming up with an idea, if I'm not creating a relationship, if I'm not making, my business doesn't make money.
Yeah.
But if you told me like I work for insert, like, hey, Jeremy, we're going to have you be a consultant for lifetime, but you never have to come into the office and you can just do it from home. Dude, I'm going to fuck, and you're going to pay me the same amount anyway. I'm going to fuck off, dude, so much. And like, yeah, I'm going to do a good job, but I'm like, I'm giving you the bare minimum.
Yeah.
If you're paying me $5,000 a month, you're getting $5,000 worth. You're not getting $7,000 worth. Now, if you have to be there and watch me, I'm probably going to fuck around a little bit less.
I don't think I could do it. I enjoy working from home now just because I like my home office. And obviously I, like you, like I get behind that computer and I do stuff and I can get a lot done as a business owner, in an hour that takes most people 3 to 4 hours just because I have an easier pathway to victory, right? I have more tools, more knowledge, more ways, more connections. But I still love having my office and having a place for people to come. And again, it's like creating community. And when people come to my office and they see, oh, wow, dude, this is legit, man. Like you worked with them and you have a podcast studio and you have, it's like, I mean, dude, I've known you a decade now. And the first time you came to my office, I think was like last year. Like, you come in, you're like, it makes it real.
Oh yeah. And for me, like there's a separation and some people might feel different, but I don't like to, but that's my personality type too. Like where my hat's off, dude. If you're on our app and you're in Wisconsin right now and you wake up and do these fucking workouts in your garage,
yeah.
Like, respect, dude. It's probably 42 degrees.
Yeah.
It's freezing. It's dark and you're exercising. There's about zero fucking chance I ever do that. Like ever. I don't work out at home. I don't want to. I'll get in my pool and do stuff like on those days where I'll ruck around the neighborhood and we have assault bikes and stuff at home. And if it's like worst case scenario, I got to get on an early flight and I got to move, like I'll do something, but I don't want to take my work home.
Yeah.
I don't want to exercise at home. I used to work from home all the time, dude. Like I would just work all the time anyway. So my computer is on my lap. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm at the kitchen table. I'm in our home office. I'm doing whatever. I like to just have a separation for me personally. Cause like my home is like where I can hopefully, and I'll always be on my phone and do shit, but I don't want to feel like I'm doing everything in the same environment. Cause then there's never a separation and it's nice to have a little bit.
Where it's kind of funny, like my home gym is, besides coming here, I don't have a place that I go to push weight. I love working out at home because I can just come out. There's no excuses at that point.
For
it's
sure.
Like right there in my garage.
The barriers are gone.
Yeah. And it's not my work. It's my enjoyment.
Yeah. Where it's like, for me, like you guys will leave here when we're done. I can put on Batman and I can just do whatever the fuck. This is my home gym.
Right.
Like that's the difference for me. If I didn't have it, I would either like if you had a 3-car garage, that third stall would be it, or like a separate structure or something. Because I would, again, this is what I do. So I can't just have like a couple things.
No.
I want to have all the fucking shit and I'm going to spend the money and I want to have I want to push a sled. So I need to build some turf out. I need to have like a pull-up rig. I need to have like I need to have all the stuff.
Yeah.
But this is my jam.
You have it here.
Yeah. The last thing, we'll get you out of here. If you had to pick top 3 bodybuilders of all time, your favorites.
Yeah, Frank Zane. I like his structural body.
Frank's legit.
Yeah.
All time.
Franco Colombo.
Franco's a good one too.
I love Frank. I always grew up just kind of idolizing those two. And then, I mean, it goes without being said. I mean, Schwarzenegger just back in his day. The GOAT. Yeah. He was the epitome of just kind of putting something out there that nobody else was able to do in the way that he did it, with charisma and just, just bigger than life.
It's really weird. Like it's lightning in a bottle. Like
Yeah.
it's the perfect timing. If I go like down the list, like it's the Conor McGregor, like prime Conor McGregor rise, like talking shit, knocking everybody out. Like right as like the promotion is like just taking the next step. Or Michael Jordan,
Yeah.
like comes out 85 Nike Air Jordans, like the way he plays, it's like this perfect kind of storm. Arnold is that when you think about like how unpopular bodybuilding is now.
Yeah.
Like it's not way more popular
No.
than it used to be.
No, you're absolutely right.
Like I would say it's less.
And just to jump on that as well before we get out of here, I wanted to ask you, like, so okay, that's a 50-year-old man, whatever, big deal. But
Yeah, it's like your Tinder profile.
This will I know, and well, the second question, how does Heather do it? Like, because I'm really worried about my wife, being jealous with this getting out there. And
they just get used to just being married to greatness. It's an adjustment.
It's a tough one.
When you marry a unicorn, as awesome as we are, yeah.
Insurance unicorn right here, folks.
I wish my wife looked at me the way the internet creeps look at me.
Same here, bro.
I really wish she did.
Funny.
I'll like walk by naked sometimes, and she'll like, just because I'm like doing laundry or going to take a shower, and she's like, "You're doing that just so I stare at you." I'm like, "No, I'm not." I go, "But you should appreciate what is walking by you."
Exactly.
Right now.
It's like Michelangelo, but walking.
It's like if you imagine if you bought like a Ferrari, you just kind of get used to driving it after a while. Like, it's just my Ferrari.
You're absolutely right. So, and you might even fart in it,
But we're not appreciated, no.
So my question, besides that little ridiculousness that I had to ask, I look at this and I look at Arnold and I look at all of us, and Father Time always wins, right? And you
Undefeated.
You start feeling the deterioration of the body, and in the moment, you're just in the moment. You may not understand it. You may not, like, this is not my 20-something-year-old body. Now, I'm very proud of it, and I'm very happy to be 50 and feel like I still have muscle and I can move and do all that sort of stuff. But when you look at yourself as a 41-year-old man, do you ever have, like, I don't know, is there ever like a fear or any sort of like scarcity within you that you're going to get, like, look older?
I mean, like, it's because it happens so slow.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. Like, and I say that as I sit here today as still a fucking unit.
Yeah.
Because I am. I'm not a normal 41-year-old dude, and I'm not trying to brag. I go, but you listen to these episodes for a reason. Like, you came in here because I was in a certain kind of shape, and I'm not saying that's why you stay, but that's how people found me. I look at it like sports, right? Like, it's just like an acceptance of like the stages where, and this is not judgment on anybody. When anything I say on here, there's no judgment. I'm just talking freely. I could give a fuck what you do. I'm not a Botox person.
Yeah.
Like, I don't do Botox. Like, I'm not going to go to Turkey and get a hair transplant. Like, I just shave my head and be Bruce Willis and be shredded. Like, I'm cool with that. But like, I look at like sports, like I can't sprint the way 22-year-old me can sprint.
Yeah.
It's just different. Like, I can still do things on a basketball court, but I'm not the same. It's just the skills diminish over time, and you can't keep everything. And the sooner you realize that, not that you don't try to maintain your athleticism and your strength and whatever, I go, but there's seasons of life like for those things too. And all I can do is like wake up and do what's best for me, and for myself. But yeah, there will come a time where you like mourn what you used to be.
Yeah.
Like the best example I can give is just sports. Like, you go from like being the fucking man in college, and this is all you do for 23 years. And I always say this, you go to the Enterprise interview, because I went to an interview at fucking Enterprise, and this lady's like, "You suck," basically. And I'm like, "Do you know how many buckets I can get you right now?" But like, she doesn't care. And that's why you have this moment of like, oh, my old life doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Like, this is irrelevant and no one cares about these skills. And then you just know, like, you had your time, like you had your season. But with what this is like, and now with the way that we know with eating, with peptides, with hormones, with whatever, like, you can be pretty fucking fit, dude. Like, BJ and I and Dave Jack were walking to the pool when we're there, and obviously it's just three old dudes who are like way too fit to be hanging out together. It's like, what are you guys in a fucking boy band? You know, and it's like, I just said, you know, like I'll die shredded, bro.
Yeah.
Like if nothing else, like I'll die shredded. God willing, I can be healthy. I go, that's what's going to be to me. Now, there'll be benchmarks of like, I don't want to say failure, but benchmarks of like Jeremy when he's under 200 pounds. That will be a moment of like, fuck, dude, you're old. Or not to get too personal, like I've never had gray pubic hair. That'll be like, fuck, dude, now I got gray pubes. Like all this shit where you're like, fuck, dude, like now I'm old. Like you just have, or like when your hair gets thinner, like there's just these things that just, you're like, man, that's where I am now. But that's why I'll make the t-shirts that say old man shredded and like,
I can't wait.
And that'd be cool. But no, it's hard for anybody. Like even Arnold has been on camera saying like he hates how he looks now.
Yeah.
And that sucks, bro.
That does suck, and it sucks to have to be able to say. And I just kind of look at it, I'm like, what the fuck does any of this matter? You know, it's just like it's just a physical body.
Yeah, to me, man, like all this stuff, like when people are like, who cares, like, you know, how lean you are or this, I'm like, nothing matters, dude, and it all matters.
Yeah.
It only matters in the context of which you give it importance. And for me, if none of this extended my life a fucking day, and I was always going to die at 67 or 82 or whatever the time is, I'm like, I got to do it like in this vehicle. And for me, like I feel confident like in my own skin. Like I like how I look, I like how I feel, I like the things that this body allows me to do. And I've spent an insane amount of time like doing it. And like it's great for however long I get to own the car. And then when I got to trade this car in and get a new one, I'm like, I'll try to make the best of that one. But yeah, definitely I will, like I'll do everything I can to.
That's a good perspective.
Prolong this.
Like
Because that's all I got. And again, when it's gone, like it's gone. But like, fuck, dude, like it was fun.
Yeah.
Like it's.
Well, it still is.
Dude, like, and again, I wear sweatpants to work. And
right. You do have a little gray on your chin, so the balls are next.
Oh my fuck, dude, my face, it's real gray now. I've been shaving it short, because like, all the sides is gray. This is really gray here. My mustache is still super black. I grew it out not that long ago. I'll post a photo because I have this creepy, thick porn stash.
Mustache,
like Rick Rude.
Yeah, Rick Rude's the best, dude.
Yeah.
I remember when I grew my mustache out. I did a side by side with Rick Rude.
Yeah,
it's the best
all the time. Easy enough. You good, Sean? Cool. Where can these guys, when is the book for sale? When does it come out? All that important stuff?
Yeah, book is for sale on BookBaby. I'll text you the link. You can put it in show notes. It's on Amazon as well. We're having a book release party. If you're in Arizona, you have an interest, November 1st, it's free. Free food and drink of anything. Go mingle with 200 other people that have RSVP'd. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then obviously, you know, this all parlays into our Built Different community that Jeremy and I are building out right now. We had our web guy in here. We're pretty excited about that because it's going to be our own platform. It's going to be a place for people to be a part of just a community of like-minded, good energy killers. And we're going to be able to lend a lot of value of expertise of our mistakes and our successes, all together in that. So we're excited to launch that next year. Again, another part of the reason why I wrote the book. And then also, you can just follow me on Instagram at, I am the D-Lo, and on YouTube. So
yeah, hopefully we'll have it's kind of like an entrepreneurial community done by sometime in January-ish is the goal. And again, it's just for people, whether you work a corporate job or you're trying to do something on your own, like this will be for you. And I can't promise a lot of things, but it'll be the resources and tools you need to build a business that can make money and provide a life for your family. Now, I can't guarantee you'll make, $10 million, but if you want to not work at your corporate job and do something on your own and make enough money to pay your bills, if you follow all the things that we lay out in there and you fucking work your face off, I promise you can do them. That much I can guarantee you.
Yeah, and I'll throw this out here. Look, the election is over, November 5th, I think it is, or whatever, if you guys are following this. So you'll have time, okay? You can get off all the shit threads and come be part of something exciting that's nothing to do with that.
Yeah, and again, you're not going to get to the end of your life and be like, you know what, I'm really glad I spent that time arguing with people on the internet over whatever the fuck it was. You have time to, you'll have plenty of time to do the things that we'll lay out for you guys here. And again, I only speak about it passionately because it's I once was in this kind of corporate structure and it wasn't a fit for me. And if nothing else, you'll find out in there whether it is or isn't for you. Whether this, and maybe you have a hybrid approach to it, but I'm the pieces will be there to cut 5-10 years off your learning curve to build a successful business and just, in my opinion, like a successful life based around the things that you are good at. And like that's what we're building, and that's what you guys will have access to on the back end. So with that, if you guys want to pop in the Jeremy Scott Fitness app, the programs are in there. If you want a free sample of AG1, hit me up. All the other sponsors are in the show notes. If you guys want to get on the kind of wait list for the Build Different Mastermind community, the link's in the show notes for that. You can just put your email in. You get first access to that. We'll do like early bird pricing for everybody when it comes out. But anything else, business-wise, fitness-wise, life-wise, reach out to us. Give D-Lo a follow. And if you're on Apple, drop it a 5-star, leave a comment. Don't be a fucking lazy ass. And if you're on Spotify, leave me a 5-star as well. I appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you guys as always. And until next time, eat well, train hard, be nice to people, and please, you guys, keep doing shit you love with people you enjoy because your life is too short not to. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Peace.